Well, originally, actually, I was a geologist. I studied science, and then, but I had a passion for theatre since I was very little, and I was doing it as a hobby, as a sort of thing. I come also from a small town, so I didn't have much opportunity near Turin. And then, progressively, when I was at university, I also, in the evening, I was studying in a school, professional theatre. And then, when I finished my degree, I discovered that I loved theatre more than mountains and rocks, even if I love them a lot. And I decided to try I left Torino to go to London, and then there progressively I started to meet people through workshops in theatre, not in cinema. And I studied a master in physical theatre, which is, I think in French, théâtre gestuel, or je ne sais pas, quelque chose comme ça. And I've been combining theatre and teaching theatre, mainly commedia dell'arte. This is an ancient tradition with masks. And then in 2011, I got a call from, I didn't have an agent, but I'm in a web directory called Spotlight, and they were looking for Italian actors and actresses for Barbarian Sound Studio by Peter Strickland. And so I went to the audition, I passed the audition, and I had a small role in his first film. And then when we finished, that was the end of 2011, beginning of 2012, Peter called me and asked me if I wanted to be involved in his next project, because he thought that I was right for a character he had in mind. And I met Andy Stark, who is the producer of the Duke of Bugundy, and then that's it. A year later, we started shooting in 2013. At the end of 2013, last year, we started shooting The Duke. Before shooting, he sent me he gave me some titles, and a few of the films he mentioned I already knew, and these films are Buñuel, Belle du Jour, Fassbinder, The Bitter Tears of Peter von Kant, and then apart from these two, and all Buñuel in a sense, and he just sent me a couple of clips to have as a reference for a visual aesthetic point of reference. And mostly these were 70s films, the sort of horror / softcore type of films. And I haven't watched any of Franco's movies, although this film, the beginning of this film, was like what Andy and Peter were discussing about, was to do a remake, a sort of homage to Franco's films in the 70s. But I never watched them. And then when we were on set, actually, there were a few nights, couple of nights, we watched just some scenes, but that was not much for me, but more for having sort of, with the director of photography, also have a sense of some type of shot he wanted, and that was it. Yes, and that was really interesting. Although I have to say that from the script, it was all really clear. I didn't need to see any clips. It was written in such a way that all the visual and the aesthetic and the atmosphere, the moods were very clear to me. It was, fantastic, I have to say. It was, professionally speaking, is probably the most important experience I've ever had. Because I had a fantastic opportunity, thanks to Peter again, but in Barbarian Sound Studio I had a great opportunity to be on set with Toby Jones, who is an outstanding actor. But in that occasion I was on set just a couple of days, and I worked with Toby for a very short period of time, although observing him was brilliant in terms of learning experience, because that was my first film. And in this one, much more intense, because Sidze and I are the main character, and all the film is basically focused on our relationship. Having the opportunity to work with such an amazing and experienced actress was a fantastic learning opportunity. And I spent, I think the first week I was very tense, and I think I spent the first week mostly observing everyone, observing our Nick, so the director of photography, observing the environment, and certainly observing Sitze, and trying as much as I could just to respond to her. Because when you work with someone that is so good, really, really good, and so generous on set, meaning that she was working for the absolute kind of perfection of the result of the film, and with great confidence as well. I think the only thing I had to do, or that's what I tried to do, was to respond a bit like when you dance tango. And I know they told me that the man has to lead and the woman follows. And if the man is really good, then it's easy to dance. And in a sense, I think it was easy for me to dance with Sitze because she was fantastic. A new project. I've just finished a theatre project in Turin. That is a classic, is Pirandello, with the Italian playwright, I Giganti della Montagna, and we had the premiere in November, and I'm going back in January. I'm going back to Turin to be on stage again with the same company. And apart from that, I don't have any project for 2015, and I hope there will be more films to come. Maybe in France, maybe. Okay, well, I have to say there is a director at the moment that I like a lot the style of his films, because they're really close, I think, to some theater work that I do, in the sense that they're very quirky and grotesque, and there is a slapstick quality to his comedy, I think, from my perspective. And I think that it must be great fun to work on set with him, I guess, on this. And it's Wes Anderson. So something completely different from the work I did with Peter. And it's just him comes to mind because I relate watching his film and thinking about working in with this type of characters being extremely great fun, and somehow close to the type of theatre that I do. Breaking the waves, Lars von Trier, and because it was all this element of this sacrifice of this woman, and but I don't know. It's not such a happy love story. So. No, I can't answer. No, this is impossible. It's impossible. Well, okay, maybe if I have to, maybe Andrei Tarkovsky, possibly, because I think that I've never seen anything like that in terms of beauty and poetry, and in a sense, like with a unique style that for me embraces all form of art, in a sense, because there is always visual arts are extremely important. But not only art, like even history, and at the same time there is something about his ability to embrace like historical element, like maybe the history of Russia, for instance, in Andrei Rublev, and at the same time going into the very personal, his own autobiographical life or personal issues of individuals with bigger question. I think I find his film also have that other element I find extremely spiritual, in a sense. So sort of touch upon many things, from art to philosophy and science even. And so in that sense probably is the more, for me, the more, if the word exists, complete artist, in a sense, I can think of. Andrei Rublev. the last I watched is Come to My Voice, this film that I've seen in Turkish film. I've seen at Mar del Plata Film Festival, won there. And it's the story of a Turkish village, and yes, and what happened in the private life of a family when this Turkish man is taken away from the Turkish army, and is absolutely poetry. It's really, I really recommend it. It's really exquisite. Merci.